Hello, everyone. My name is Fatima, and I'm joined here by my group mates, Susanna and Cal, and we will be performing we will be doing the CSSR assessment today. Because there are three of us, Cal and I will swap off the role of social worker, and Susanna will maintain the client role. When Cal and I swap off, I'll make sure to say, "Hey, I'm passing it over to Cal," so it's as little confusion as possible. For the sake of this assessment to make more sense and we can kind of dive into that role, we created a client. The client is Marcus, and Susanna will be playing the client role. And Marcus recently went through a divorce after 10 years of marriage. He lost his job 3 months ago, a little bit after the divorce, and he's been struggling very much to find a new job. He lives alone on top of that, and because he lives alone, he's feeling very isolated, doesn't have a lot of support systems, and he's reported drinking way more than the usual one beer a night. On top of that, I want to add that our client is 35 years old. Now we will be beginning the assessment itself. Hi, Marcus. I really appreciate you being here today. How's your day going so far? Did anything interesting happen lately?
Not really. It has been a quiet morning. I just applied to a few job applications.
Okay, that makes sense, but that's great about the job applications. Where'd you apply to?
Well, I applied to Amazon and a custodian position on a school. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's really great. Have you heard anything back from that yet, or was it today that you applied?
It was today.
Okay, well, I'm hopeful and I hope you are too. And I know you've been going through a lot lately with the divorce and the job loss, so I do really want to thank you for showing up and taking time to talk to me. Is there anything that you want to get off your chest before we start today? Or,
Not really. I've been feeling like always.
okay, well, then, before we get started, I just want to remind you that this is a safe, supportive, and judgment-free space, and I'd like to go over some confidentiality rules with you, okay?
Mhm.
So, everything we talk about today is private and it stays between us unless there's a concern about your safety or someone else's safety. For some context, I'll give you an example. If you share that you're planning to harm yourself or someone else, or if a child or other adult, a vulnerable population of any sort, for example, people with disabilities, have a chance of being harmed or have been hurt, then it is my legal requirement to report that. And this is for my safety, your safety, everyone's safety included, especially yours, though. Besides that, what we talk about is confidential and is protected under HIPAA laws, which means your personal information will not be shared with anyone without your informed consent. Do you have any questions before we start?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay. Now I will be passing over the social worker role to Cal.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Marcus, to start, I'm going to ask you some questions that I ask all my clients when I start working with them. They are about suicide and thoughts of death, and I know that can be a pretty sensitive subject, so I just wanted to prep you going into it. And the purpose of these questions are to help me make sure you're feeling safe and figure out how we can support you. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I guess that's okay.
All right, thank you. Have you wished you were dead or ever just wished you could go to sleep and not wake up?
Yeah, a few times a week.
And how long ago would you say that you started having these thoughts, as well as how often do they occur?
Just a few times in the last couple of weeks. I just get tired of everything.
Yeah, that sounds really hard, Marcus. Have you had any thoughts of killing yourself?
Sometimes the thought crosses my mind, like things will be just fine if I wasn't here.
And how often do you have that thought?
A couple times a week.
Have you been thinking about how you might do this?
Well, I talked about taking some of my pain pills. I still have them from my surgery last year.
Okay. Are they in a place that you can access right now, Marcus?
Yeah, they're actually in my bathroom in my cupboard.
Okay. And do you have any intention of taking these pills?
Not really planning to, but sometimes it feels tempting when I'm drinking. I just want to feel something else.
And how often would you say that you have the temptation to take these pills while you're drinking?
Almost every time I drink.
Okay, and how often have you been drinking lately?
Recently I've been drinking around 5 to 6 drinks a day.
Okay. Have you started to prepare for your death in any way or taken any steps that would directly lead to ending your life?
Mm, no, I don't think so. Just one night I just grabbed the bottle and left it on my dresser by my bed, but I didn't take anything.
Okay. Is there a trusted individual, maybe a family member or a friend, that you would feel comfortable giving these pills to for a little bit?
Mm, the only person I'm closer to is my sister. I guess I can feel comfortable giving them to her.
Okay, well, that sounds like a good plan. Let's start by doing that, Marcus. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for being honest with me. It sounds like you're under an immense amount of stress right now between losing your job, dealing with this divorce, and now being more isolated. So I just want to make sure you're getting all the resources you need. And that can be so much for somebody to handle. So I just want to make sure we take all the proper steps to keep you safe.
Thank you.
No problem. Based on what you've shared, it sounds like you've had some serious thoughts about suicide and have prepared in some ways. That means you're at a pretty high risk right now. But the fact that you came in here and are willing to talk to me about it shows a lot of strength and dedication to getting better. So we want to make sure you're never alone in this,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
of course. All right, now to get into our debrief. So to start, the nonverbal cues I noticed from our client Marcus here. Immediately, during the conversation, he's slouched over, kind of eyes angled downwards, looking towards the ground. He has a very like flat affect, very emotionless, doesn't really display a lot of emotion in any way during the conversation. And also maintains a lower tone, just speaking a little bit under their breath. Not quite as loud as your average person. And then also kind of their struggle to maintain eye contact all point to them being emotionally activated during this conversation, despite their sort of emotionless outward appearance.
So because our client doesn't have a plan yet, so we put it at a high risk, but we also want to like consider other factors, which Fatima is going to talk more about that.
Yes, so given the fact that he is able to give his pills to his sister because he trusts them, has admitted to having thoughts but never carried out with the plans, that is what makes him high risk. But again, we take the fact of him not making an attempt yet into account. So the treatment plans that we have decided, despite him not having a plan, we have many. First one would be meeting once a week with his social worker, and during these visits, we will go over his job progress and to move on to how we will help him with his job and financial issues that are correlating with his drinking, his divorce, the attorneys needed, all of that, is that we will be connecting him to a local temp agency. This will get him that foot forward and help him get that step that he needs to help himself financially as well. Now, the addiction and alcoholism side of it, with the drinking 5 to 6 times a day, we want to get him connected to a local AA meeting as soon as possible so he can have that support group and talk about situations that he has gone through and find relatability within the people there. Like I said, every week that Marcus meets with his social worker, he will go over job progress, but he will also go over his progress in AA. And after a few months, we will consider how often he will need to go, and we will track his progress consistently. We also want to try to find a support group for divorced men for him. We want to take into account his transportation and how accessible this group actually is, how rare they are, all of the above. And the biggest one is we want to create a safety plan for him if the thoughts of taking his own life come up again. And with this, we want to have people or places that he can go where he feels comfortable, safe, and will, in the end, avoid harming himself, which is the biggest thing we want to focus on. The first person we're going to contact and have on his safety plan is his sister. Again, if he felt comfortable enough giving the pills to her, that means he feels comfortable enough to have her as a safety resource and as a support person. So, thank you so much. This was our CSSR assessment, and yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.